6,000 years of peace had made the galaxy soft. The scars of ancient wars had faded beneath layers of treaties, shared governance, and interspecies diplomacy. Worlds that once turned to ash under solar flares of orbital bombardment now cultivated gardens of serenity. It was a golden age, fragile and blinding. From the high spires of the Galactic Council Tower on Tau Ceti Prime, Ambassador Gaius Ren of Earth listened without expression as the Zanati Empress's holographic declaration echoed through the chamber. Her voice, cool and imperious, rang out in a dozen languages. The accord is null. The Empire reclaims its divine right to expand. Let the galaxy burn if it must. Let it remember who rules. Gasps rippled through the assembly. Some wept. A few demanded sanctions. The Altari delegation collapsed in a tangle of feathered limbs, too stunned to speak. Ren simply smiled and leaned into his mic. Understood, he said. We'll handle it. And then, to the confusion of billions watching the broadcast, he laughed. 2 parsecs away, beneath the surface of Earth, a different kind of silence filled the subterranean vaults of the Bastion network. Automated gates hissed open for the first time in centuries. Defense AI cores that had slumbered for millennia lit up, hungry for directives. The command room flickered to life, lighting up walls of data and dark glass displays. General Lena Voss, Supreme Commander of the Terran Strategic Force, if anyone even remembered that title, stood before the activation console. Her face, ageless with rejuvenation therapies, was lined with old wars that never truly ended, only slept. Protocol Leviathan, she said. The AI responded instantly. Confirmed. Strategic deterrent protocols active. Mobilizing forces in low-orbit cryoberths. Spooling slipstream cores. Wake Command dispatched to Task Force Umbra, Helix, and Spectre. Voss exhaled. God help the bastards. They think this is a war. Centuries of peace had convinced the galaxy that humans were docile, amusing, even. Creative, certainly. But dangerous? That myth had faded with time. The truth was far stranger. Earth had never stopped preparing. Not really. While the Council pushed disarmament, humanity simulated. They practiced. They built war not for use, but for understanding. Millions of synthetic battlefields tested every variable. AI generals wargamed extinction events in endless combinations. Human soldiers trained in VR environments so advanced they blurred the line between experience and memory. No one had noticed because humans played it down. They traded art, culture, science, and joked about their primitive past. But behind the laughter was calculation. After all, peace was just a pause in history. And humans remembered history very well. In orbit around Titan, hidden beneath Saturn's glare, the stealth carrier Oblivion's Edge received its wake signal. Deep in its cryo bays, armored figures stirred. Neural uplinks hissed and hummed. One, Commander Ryan Calder, blinked as his consciousness synced with ship AI. Mission data streamed into his mind. War, he muttered, stretching his limbs as gravity returned. About damn time. On the other side of the galaxy, the Zanati Empress stood upon the obsidian balcony of the Imperial Citadel. She watched her fleet mobilize, vast wings of razor-shaped cruisers folding space as they departed toward human space. She had expected fear, diplomatic flailing, perhaps token resistance. Instead, humans had smiled. And laughed. She dismissed it as cultural eccentricity. They are clever, her war minister said. Unpredictable. They are weak, she replied. Overpacified. Ripe. She knew the stories of Earth's ancient wars. But myth had no mass. Her people had bred for combat, honed for supremacy. The Empress believed strength came from blood, not patience. When her forward fleet struck the Terran outpost on Lyra 9, they expected surrender. Instead, they were met with silence. Not a single transmission. No alarm. No evacuation. Just a sudden, sharp flicker, and then, nothing. Not even debris. Back on Earth, Ren sat in his quiet office overlooking the Atlantic. He sipped tea as news of the annihilated fleet reached the Council. No weapons had been fired. No ships had left orbit. The enemy had simply vanished. The door behind him hissed open. Voss entered, dressed not in military regalia but simple grey civilian wear. They didn't need to speak. He just tilted his head. "Spectre?" he asked. 30 seconds, she said. "Should be hitting their comms about now." In the Imperial throne room, the Empress's command hub sparked and died. Giant viewscreens showed images they had never authorized, old Earth War footage, black and white horrors, Hiroshima in silence, then the napalm infernos of the 21st. Then color came. The Siege of Mars. The Battle of Europa. Wars the Empire never knew existed. Simulations so real they could taste the blood. Then came something worse, laughter. The same clip, looped. Ren, at the council podium, laughing. The feed shut down. In that moment, the Empress began to understand. The humans had never been sleeping. They had been waiting. Back in Earth's bastion, Voss activated the final phase. Satellites blinked in synchronized orbit. Sleeper AI fleets awoke in every quadrant. Humanity's sword, hidden beneath 6,000 years of velvet, had been drawn. She turned to her command crew. "Let's show them what 6,000 years of practice looks like." The countdown began. The Zanati fleet surged through the void like a storm of blades, 30 warships fanning out in tight formation over the Terran colony of New Kyoto. Beneath them, the planet shimmered in a halo of green and silver, its arcologes and orbital mirrors gleaming under the system's twin suns. From the bridge of the Scourge of Purity, Fleet Commander Kale Vos stood tall, his lavender skin catching the soft pulse of his vessel's control lights. "Begin orbital lock," he ordered. "Broadcast surrender demand." His comms officer tapped at the interface, then frowned. "No transmission. They are not responding." Vos narrowed his eyes. "Send it again." "Already did." Still nothing. He turned toward the viewport. Something felt off. The humans had defense stations here, visible, archaic towers perched on orbital rings. They looked like relics, lightly powered, unmanned by all reports. This should have been symbolic, a decisive first strike. Yet the silence was wrong. "Scans show no evacuation. No military formations," said the sensor officer. "Just civilian traffic grounded planetside." Vos's second-in-command, Admiral Giln, shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe they're trying to provoke." The ship lights flickered. Then died. In the space of a heartbeat, the Zanati flagship lost all external comms, propulsion, and fire control. One by one, the other ships fell dark, like candles blown out in vacuum. On the surface of New Kyoto, no weapons fired. No missiles rose. Nothing moved, until every human defense platform lit up in perfect synchrony. And opened fire. Invisible to the naked eye, compressed gravitic beams sliced through hulls, bypassing shielding like it wasn't there. Zanati cruisers twisted and crumpled in total silence. Their magnetic cores ruptured, imploding inwards before detonating. It was over in 27 seconds. No survivors. No escape pods. Just 30 icons vanishing from the fleet tracker, one after another, like someone deleting them from existence. Far away on Earth, Ryan Calder sat in the cockpit of his stealth corvette, eyes fixed on the live feed from the operation. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. He simply said, "Clean." Across the fleet, similar acknowledgments echoed, professional, contained. Humanity didn't celebrate war. They executed it. At the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Dozens of species screamed accusations at the human delegation. Genocide. Excessive force. Technological violations. Ambassador Gaius Ren stood at his usual podium, expression unreadable. "Your Honor," he said to the council chair, "I remind you, the Zanati declared war. We responded. Efficiently." "You annihilated 30 ships in under a minute," shrieked a Groland senator. "We didn't fire first." An Altari envoy fluttered forward. "But you could have, should have, disabled, not destroyed." Ren leaned forward. "That was disabling. Every system they had was turned against them in a microsecond. Their engines failed. Their life support reprogrammed itself to hostile temperatures. Their escape pods were locked, from the inside. The shots were mercy. A cold silence fell. Behind Ren, a screen showed telemetry footage from New Kyoto. Not a single civilian casualty. Not a single misfire. Just surgical war. At the edge of Zanati space, the Empire's high command fumed. Empress Neferra's fury burned like a star. What do you mean, they never launched ships? Her advisors struggled to explain. Our ships were hijacked, Majesty. The human countermeasures were already embedded. We believe they seeded our fleet data a decade ago. Backdoors, malware, things our security never even detected. She turned to her intelligence chief. You told me they were soft. They were soft, Empress. Until they weren't. She slammed a clawed hand onto the arm of her throne. Fine. Bring out the planet killers. Let's see them laugh at that. The room went silent. Even her generals hesitated. Back aboard the Oblivion's Edge, Calder reviewed new deployment orders. Spectre Division was to push deeper, into contested systems. The directive was clear: do not conquer. Disable. Dismantle. Leave behind no threat. He tapped the mission briefing, and images of the Zanati orbital foundries appeared, targets marked in glowing red. Same as before, he said to his team. Precision only. No ego. Let the galaxy scream, we're not here for cheers. What about survivors? Asked his lieutenant, Semia. Let em live. Let em talk. In the Empire's palace, Neferra's fury boiled into desperation. Systems failed across their military grid. Communications routed themselves to Terran frequencies and echoed back with mocking laughter. At first, they believed it was jamming. Then came the broadcasts. Short clips, Earth military drill footage synced to tribal war chants. Interspliced memes with captions in Zanati script, we trained while you slept. Scenes from old Terran films, re-rendered with the Empress's face. A puppet of her dancing awkwardly. Her voice synthesized into a jingle advertising Earth's newest snack product, Conquest Chips, Taste Defeat. The people of the Empire watched, stunned. The Empress issued bans, but the content spread faster than it could be scrubbed. Her authority unraveled not through battle, but mockery. Rebellion sparked in outer sectors. Officers defected. Factories ground to a halt. And then, the worst blow came. In the dark hours of the fourth war day, her palace went quiet. All doors sealed. Lights flickered out. When they returned, 3 armored humans stood in her throne room. They didn't shoot. Didn't speak. They left a single device on the floor. It displayed a single line of text. Stand down, or we tell them what you did to the Illiran refugees. Neferra stared at it, throat dry. No alarms had sounded. No guards had stopped them. She felt, for the first time, the creeping horror of total helplessness. When her generals arrived moments later, she was gone. A silent message reached the council: the Empire had suffered an internal breach. Temporary leadership would be assumed by civilian authorities. The war was paused for re-evaluation. Earth did not respond. They didn't need to. Because across the stars, everyone already knew who had won the opening moves. And humanity hadn't even tried yet. The Zanati Empire collapsed not with a scream, but with a shudder. Planetary governors turned off their beacons, mothballed warships, and opened negotiations before Earth's agents even arrived. Supply chains disintegrated overnight, their AI logistics rerouted to dead ends by invisible human saboteurs. On the outer colonies, statues of the Empress were toppled not by revolutionaries, but by terrified administrators seeking favor from the new order. It was less surrender than self-preservation, an empire bleeding out without a single Terran boot touching soil. Ryan Calder stood on the edge of a platform overlooking a vast alien city, now eerily quiet. The world of El-Karaz, once the Zanati's industrial heart, had voluntarily transferred governance to Earth. Calder didn't smile at the hollow victory. The people here had expected violence and received silence. A new satellite constellation now watched over them, and in orbit, human drones rebuilt what Zanati hands had once torn down. Samir stepped beside him, helmet under her arm. They're asking if we'll be staying permanently. He didn't look at her. No. They're afraid the next ones won't be so kind. They should be. At Earth's capital, Ambassador Wren delivered the final communiqué to the Galactic Council. Humanity had no interest in territory. No annexations. No enforced regimes. Just this, a charter of technological neutrality, a ban on forced assimilation, and the establishment of the new Terran Accord, peace maintained not by diplomacy, but deterrence. The only demand was simple: remember what humans were capable of. Some species protested the harshness. Others were quiet, grateful in private. The message was clear. Earth had ended the war in under a week, not because they desired power, but because someone had forced them to remember how to use it. Voss watched the Council's reaction from her mountain facility, far from the cities. She held a cup of bitter tea, steam curling around her weathered features. "They'll rebuild," she said. The AI beside her, shaped like an androgynous human silhouette in shimmering light, tilted its head. "So will we." She nodded. "But not the old way." "No," the AI agreed. "We evolve." On Zanati Prime, what remained of the Imperial Senate was converted into an interspecies forum. The humans didn't govern, they trained, advised, supported. They deployed libraries instead of weapons, educators instead of troops. AI mediators facilitated talks between warring houses, some of whom had not spoken in centuries. A child born that week would never know the Empress's name. But they would know the sound of laughter, the strange, terrifying laughter that marked the end of the old world. 5 years later, in a school hovering above the clouds of Velcura, a Zanati child named Kale studied an Earth history module. He raised a hand, a subtle flick of his primary digits. "Teacher, why did the humans laugh when the war began?" The instructor, an elder Terran in soft gray robes, walked to the window. Outside, flocks of floating bioships sailed lazily across the horizon. "Because they knew," the old man said. "They knew how it would end." The child blinked. "But, weren't they afraid?" The teacher turned, eyes filled with a sadness deeper than years. "Of war? No. They were afraid of what they'd become if they let it happen again." The room fell silent. Another student, an Altari, chirped. "But they didn't conquer us." "No," the teacher replied. "That's not the human way." Kale looked down at his desk. On the display, a paused video of Earth soldiers dropping from orbit with precision, flame and silence following them. "They just wanted to be left alone," he said quietly. The teacher nodded. "Until someone taught them they weren't allowed to be." Outside, far above the clouds, a new station orbited peacefully. Not a warship. Not a fortress. A library, open to all, guarded by none. Just a beacon. In Earth Standard, it read, "Laughing is better than screaming. But don't forget, we can still scream, too." And across the stars, no one ever forgot again. The galaxy adapted, but not all accepted. In the outer fringes, whispers grew into voices, voices into factions. Some saw Earth's mercy as weakness. Others feared the quiet dominance of Terran systems embedded into every critical network, communications, trade, navigation. Fear, once conquered by awe, began to ferment in the shadows. Not in the great empires or shattered monarchies, but in the drifting zones, uncharted sectors where old powers went to rot and new ones crawled into being. One such place was the Wraith Span, a swath of starless dark between collapsed wormholes and ancient battlefields. Here, a warlord rose, not Zanati, not Councilborn. He had no name, only a title etched into stolen code and whispered in dark bandwidth: the Archivist. He didn't launch fleets. He resurrected them. Derelict husks from wars long past were repurposed, infused with forbidden AI remnants and virus logic. His doctrine was simple: if humanity had rebuilt peace through omnipotence, he would sow chaos by remembering what peace forgot. Voss first learned of him from a classified pulse wave that disrupted 7 Terran relay stations. No damage. No casualties. Just one repeating message: you've grown complacent. Let's see if you still remember how to scream. She read it without reaction. Then she ordered the reactivation of Sentinel Protocol 9. Elsewhere, Rhine Calder descended into the ruins of a long-decommissioned Terran military silo on Europa's dark side. The ice above him groaned with ancient pressure, but the air inside the vault was still and sterile. A figure waited for him, tall, armored, faceless. Not a soldier, not AI, but something between. You knew this would happen, the figure said. Calder nodded. History doesn't end. It just changes uniform. The figure turned, revealing rows of cryogenic pods now dimly lit. They want to wake the old gods. Let them. We taught the galaxy to respect peace. Maybe it's time they learn why we feared ourselves. Back on Earth, Ren sat alone in a secure chamber beneath the Council archives. He stared at a decrypted data stream sent anonymously from the span images, flashes of half-living ships, viral AIS co-opting memories as operating systems, children born in digital feedback loops. The archivist wasn't just building an army. He was building a myth. Ren leaned back and closed his eyes. They are trying to become us. No, came a voice from the shadows. Samir stepped forward, older now, bearing the insignia of the Terran Black Wing. They are trying to surpass us. Without the soul. Ren smiled faintly. That's what makes them vulnerable. Far from politics and warfare, on a quiet moon orbiting a gas giant, a small group of students visited a preserved Terran war museum. One boy, a Zanati Eloi hybrid named Juno, stood before a glass case containing a single relic, a dusty Earth soldier's helmet, scarred and silent. His class moved on. He didn't. The curator, an aged man with a prosthetic spine and one real eye, stepped beside him. You like that one? Juno nodded. It's simple. But it feels heavy. It should, the curator said. That helmet saw the end of the last war before the 6,000 years. The one where we thought peace would last forever. Why didn't it? The boy asked. The curator stared at the helmet a long time. Because we forgot what made peace possible. Guns? Juno asked. No, the curator said. Resolve. Compassion with a spine. Guns help, but they are not the reason people stop fighting. It's when they believe you'll never need to use them, until the day you do. Outside, as the stars pulsed quietly in the void, a signal crossed the edge of known space. A slow, pulsing code. The archivist's mark. Testing systems. Probing for response. In orbit above Earth, a defense satellite blinked once. Then twice. Then waited. Because this time, humanity wouldn't strike first. But when it came, they would not laugh. They would not speak. They would act. And across the galaxy, all who remembered the last war knew, when Earth moves, the stars follow.